Exclusively on Secular Media Network, this is the Gaytheist Manifesto.
Hello and welcome to the Gaytheist Manifesto, your source for news, commentary, discussion, and debate at the intersection of the atheist movement and the LGBT rights movement. I am your host, Callie Wright, joined as always by my co-host, Ari Coleman. Hello, Ari.
Hello, everyone, and not joined as always, because the last 2 weeks you didn't have me on, you stinker.
As almost always. Yes. Always. There it is. You got me there. So this week we are having a conversation with some folks who are good friends of the show and people who are hilarious. They have an awesome podcast called Promoting Secular Feminism. Please welcome Miss B. Haven and DeManda Wright to the show.
Hey.
I don't have an applause button. I'm sorry.
Demanda's
That's okay. I'm doing my hard rock hand sign.
I saw that on the Skype video. That was good stuff.
It's hard to see on a podcast.
Yeah. It doesn't translate into audio.
No, you were totally rocking out, though. It was good stuff.
That's the best intro ever, by the way.
Thank you. The band's name is Cloudkicker. The song is called Amy, I Love You. So just, throwing a plug out for that. Yeah, it's good stuff. So let's talk about the show. It's called Promoting Secular Feminism. It's about feminism. It's about secularism. It's about promoting things, and it's about dildos and...
That's not my fault. I'm a repressed Victorian, and she made me do it.
No, I didn't.
So talk to me about the show.
Well, it started out as my being the token vagina at our local humanist group, which lasted.
That's a
everything
great
apparently
phrase.
fits into that vagina. Do you know? Like every time we talk about her vagina, it gets bigger and bigger.
Until it engulfs the world. Yes, we
But more
understand.
fabulous.
It's legendary.
Yes.
That's good stuff.
It's eternal.
Oh, shit.
I mean, someone I know named Raylene.
Shoot!
So it started out as being the token vagina at the humanist group, and eventually
And then I arrived, and that's the end of the story.
Yep, that was pretty much it. And my favorite podcast at the time, Godless Bitches, stopped happening, and I was really sad.
And she cried on my shoulder.
Mr. Haven
Love
was
that
like,
show.
"Why don't you just do your own podcast?" And I was like, "What?"
And then she told me something about a sparkling unicorn and made me agree to do it.
Yep, that was pretty much it. And somehow we managed to get that unicorn in like lots of episodes.
I don't know how that happened.
It's a shape-shifting alien, but it's not really. It's a normal human named Brownie Two Arms.
Named what?
Sparkles.
Brownie Two Arms.
Brownie Two Arms. Okay.
It's a normal
Look.
human name.
Let's not try to talk about this right now.
Is that a sore subject?
Context. This steaming pile of horse excrement makes no sense.
That's like half the fun of it.
It's a good incentive for folks to listen to the show.
That's true.
That's
Good serious points.
There is a princess called Sparkle Farts, and she has a code name, Brownie Two Arms.
She's a secret agent.
And she just had a boob job.
Well, so
Jealous.
Congratulations.
it's worth looking into.
And the end.
So
Question mark?
So
Question
what the
mark.
heck is your show about? Because I'm
Yeah,
not really understanding from what you just told me. Something about unicorns and brownies and dildos. That's about all I've got so far.
Okay.
That's a good summary.
That's it.
Unicorn brownies, dildos, maybe. I don't know.
Well, basically, we heard the Gaytheist Manifesto, which purports to be at the intersection of the LGBTQ and secular communities. And we thought, hey, we need to support that, and we need to do a feminist podcast.
Yep.
And so we completely copied you. That's what we did.
Yep. That's pretty much it.
I mean, I'll take that. That's cool. So why
It's more of a flattery.
We're fangirls. That's it.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, thank you. So, tell me why secular feminism as opposed to just feminism? Why the two things together?
Well, at least for my part, it was that the two are intertwined for me. That a lot of my advocating for separation of church and state had to do with my advocating for my own reproductive rights. And that had a lot to do with my decision to want to be secular feminists rather than just feminists. And I do want to be inclusive, but I do want to emphasize that I am not promoting the goals or endeavors of a particular religion. I'm promoting secularism for women because I feel that many, if not most, religions tend to be more harmful toward women than helpful.
Yeah, I hear the arguments arising, right? Like my secular feminism comes from sitting in a church pew and being told that I had a certain role in the church, right? That I was expected to say certain things and do certain things or not say certain things and do certain things, right? There were a lot of rules that I had to abide by because I was a woman, right? I remember being in a university classroom and being told by a fellow student who at a Lutheran college was the biblical scholar in the group, and told me that I was a feminist only because I didn't want to wash the dishes, right? So there's a whole set of rules that I, as a secular feminist, am going to reject because those rules are placed upon me because of a religious tradition that I reject.
Yeah, that too.
And so, I mean, have you guys gotten any pushback from that? From that part of the atheist movement that's really hostile to feminism and the MRA, the fedora wearing, neckbeard type of folks.
You mean like Richard Dawkins, who shares videos equating feminism and radical Islam?
Yes,
that section of this.
That kind.
I mean, specifically to us, we've had one YouTube comment that said, "Welcome to the echo chamber." Exact words.
Ooh, what a scathing rebuke.
I know, right? Like, oh no, we're going to definitely stop
voice.
making our podcast now.
Banana, Anna.
Promoting secular feminism.
See, now we're going to have a lot of fun with that. And see, we discovered the voice changer on our soundboard last episode, and
I got fairy
it
wings.
got really silly really fast.
Oh, that's fantastic. I can't wait to hear that.
Oh, there was also that guy. Oh, I forgot about. We did an interview with George Elric, who is a HuffPo blog contributor, and he posted it on Huffington Post. And I put that post on Facebook, and there was this guy who said words that I can't see from here. He said, "More whiny women who want to be men, more whining about how bad they are treated, more whining about their lack of inclusion in religion. Successful women are everywhere, but they are the ones that choose to do something instead of just whine."
I'm a total failure is what he's saying.
Yeah.
That was
I don't have a full-time job with benefits, and you're not a professor.
the guy that you had on the show said that about your show?
No.
Oh, I was going to say, whoa.
No, this was just
this was
a
a
commenter.
Facebook comment.
I
randomly
gotcha,
found
okay.
our Huffington Post blog.
Are you surprised by that? By like the lack of hate mail that you guys get? Because I've literally never gotten a legit piece of hate mail. Like there have been a couple of people like preaching on the comment section on one of our pages, on one of our posts on Facebook, but like I've never gotten, I mean, aside from, actually, I take that back now that I think about it. There was a guy who posted on one of our episodes talking about how feminism seeks the subjugation of men. It was because we did an episode about feminism with we had Tracy Harris and Greta Christina on, and we were talking about feminism, and somebody posted in the comments.
I have a whip.
You what?
And that's how I keep I have a whip, and that's how I keep Mr. Wright in line.
Well, that's good. That's Sometimes
You don't keep it here in the studio.
Why not?
I bought it at Target.
I mean, he's there with you, right? So, like, it would make sense to have it there with you.
That's true.
I bound him and gagged him. That's the only reason he's here.
Man, it's getting hot in here.
For more, see our episode
Which
about
is
sex.
how we like it. Which is how we do it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, here we go. So this, and actually, this was the episode. So I did I did that talk a talk about compassion at a Unitarian Universalist church, and I posted the audio of that talk in an episode. And this was a comment. Said, perhaps inclusionism, in quotes, is viewed by some as a form of politicization. I am a gay man who was never included, quote unquote, in lesbianism or any of the adjuncts to feminism. It and LGBTQTX are just manipulation quoits. I have no idea what that means. Gay life has been with us for 4,800 years on its own. It doesn't require a political coalition to validate itself. Shaming gay men, as feminism deigns to do, for not being properly subordinated to the overladies, real or affected, is not compassion. It isn't even civil.
That's some fracking word salad right there.
Well, right. And I'll be really interested to see if the person who left that comment still listens to the show, so I can get a response to them hearing it on this episode. So that's going to be interesting.
No, it completely misses the point of feminism.
It sounds like a dissociative disorder.
No, look, we're supposed to be civil. Civil. Look, the civil part of us says...
I'm not joking. I'm really serious. I'm worried now.
Well, I'm not going to name names, but you know who you are.
It's a call for help.
That's what it is.
If you need someone to talk to, there's this thing called Promoting Secular Feminism. It's a podcast. Find us.
You can contact us at promotingsecularfeminism.com.
So speaking about feminism specifically, so let's define terms for a second, because obviously, feminism can mean different things. So, if you guys could talk about, like, what exactly does feminism mean to you as far as, the way that you apply it in everyday life?
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's my answer.
Enough said.
Radio gold.
No, I think that it was really surprising to me that feminism was seen as something to be derided, right? That anything that promotes equality was seen as something that we need to apply a little skepticism toward, that we've gone too far in the movement toward equality, right? I had no idea that that was a thing when I became a member of the secular community. And I do realize that there's specific instances where, such as in Goldsmith University, which I keep hearing about, where someone has created something where feminism has gone too far, right? But I don't think that we're at the point where we can say we've reached a state of equality for women, right? And therefore we still need feminism.
Yeah.
Was that word salad? I've had 2 glasses of
No,
whiskey.
it wasn't. It made sense. My definition of feminism comes more from my mother, actually. And I've told this story on the podcast before, but my mother, who was raised in the South,
I totally
had
shouldn't be
a
allowed to speak on
father
behalf of
who
feminism.
told her at some point in her life that if any man or anybody told her that she couldn't do something just because she was a girl, that she needed to not listen to them and do it anyways. And that's been kind of the basis for my feminism.
That was exactly the moment of my cognitive dissonance, right?
All
Being
along.
in a Baptist church, being preached to about the role of a woman, right? That I had to only seek God through a man, right? I had to find the appropriate godly man, and therefore I could have a connection to God as a woman.
Well, you messed
right?
up there.
And I know I did. And then being a woman whose mother always told her that she could be anything she wanted to be. Mm-hmm. Right? So there's the moment of cognitive dissonance where I was like, wait a minute, right? Being a woman, living to my fullest potential, isn't something that I'm allowed to do in the church.
Yeah. And when I got into high school and came out as bisexual, that was where that cognitive dissonance really got me, because I was raised in a Lutheran church, and my parents were very accepting at first, but only in the way of like, this is probably a phase, it'll go away, that kind of thing. But it provided enough cognitive dissonance for me to go, I'm not accepted by the church. I'm not really even accepted by the LGBT community. And I'm like 15 at this time.
But wait, we're women who just use the same words over and over again for effect, right? Like heteronormative.
Yeah.
Which we're going to name our third child. Heteronormative.
Heteronormative. He'll go by Norm.
Norm.
They'll go by Norm.
At
Do
the
you really
local
want to
bar.
give a child that kind of baggage?
No. No.
I just check with Miss B for everything about childcare.
Yeah, we'll name a cat that in your honor.
So,
I have two
do either of you have a favorite feminist stereotype?
Yes. No, it's just the very obvious one, the angry feminist, right? The man-hater. The feminist who wants to chop off dicks. We're all Lorena Bobbitt.
My favorite is the anti-sex feminist.
Oh, the virginal.
Hang on.
Virginal feminist.
That is not one that I have heard, I don't think. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, just the lies about masturbating, or the doesn't watch porn but secretly does, or the puts down porn even though they enjoy it kind of thing, where in order to be feminist, you have to be anti any sort of pornography. You have to be
reason, I'm feeling
anti
very guilty at the moment.
self-pleasure sorts of things. It's the guilt-ridden about sex feminist.
Guilt-ridden.
And if you know me for more than 5 minutes, you know that I am like the polar opposite of that.
That's interesting, because I in stereotypes surrounding feminism, the impression that I always get that people think about feminists as far as sex goes is just that, like, feminists are all lesbians and they all just like lesbian together, and like that's which is still
I'm not against that, but
which is like obviously still wrong. But I had I'd never really heard of that one before. That's really interesting.
The anti-pornography thing is especially part of like the whole feminist sex wars things in the late 80s, early 90s.
Well, yeah, so let's talk about that for a second, because that's something we've, we had a discussion about when we did an episode on sex, and we were talking about porn and how, in a lot of ways it's like anything else. Like, it can be really healthy and it can be awesome, or it can be really destructive and really hurtful, depending on how it's used and depending on, the context. So, like, let's talk about that for a second, because there are a lot of people who think that, they don't necessarily have a problem with the idea of porn in itself, but they think that the culture surrounding it and the industry surrounding it is so toxic that it can't be done ethically. Is that something that resonates with you, or what are your thoughts on that whole thing?
Yes and no. No, I think it does. I think it does resonate with Miss B. No, I think that she's very pro-porn, right? From a sex-positive position? Right?
I am, but in coming at it from a point of,
and silence.
coming outside of the ideas of, like, having to deal with the whole sex trafficking issue to do with it. My parents had like VHS of like married couples who did porn because they wanted to, and like to show that loving couples could be like part of these
and
videos
they all
and stuff.
wear white lacy gowns.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't.
I'm sure they did.
We watched different videos.
Oh, shit.
Obviously.
That's Mormon porn.
Oh, God. Lurking.
But I mean, I have a difficult time with the idea that personal self-expression should be wrong for the sake of the movement.
Yeah, I agree with that, because for me, I mean, anyone who's ever heard me talk about sex knows that I am about as sex positive as a person can get. I love sex. Sex is awesome. But
amen. I mean, ramen.
There's, there's a lot of discussion surrounding the idea that, in the porn industry, for example, like, especially surrounding like kink porn. So like, there's a company that does porn. It's kink.com, and they have a bunch of different websites that are all, different kinds of niches within there. And so they have like these company policies that are really strict about, consent, and, if models want to use condoms, like they should be able to do so. And,
unless they bought their anal beads at Target, I'm totally out.
Right. But,
DeManda likes Target.
I live in suburbia. Don't judge me.
But there's there's this idea that when you're in that position, there's so much pressure to not be that model that has to use a condom, or if you're going to do this scene, you're going to do this scene too. So like, is it really possible to do these kinds of things with consent? Because obviously consent is the differentiator between what's right and wrong. So like, I don't know. There's I kind of wrestle with that a lot because
I do too, and I think that's the exact right place to be in, right? That we're wrestling with the issue of what's fracking consent and what's not, right? Is it? Oh, I just sort of knocked my whiskey glass. But anyway, is it a matter of am I giving consent because I'm being pressured to do that or not, right? Am I being pressured in any variety of ways? Am I being pressured by what I feel is socially normative? Am I being pressured economically, right? Am I going to get a bigger paycheck if I agree to do certain things or not do other things, right? And I think the exact right place to be in is where we're not sure about exactly what consent is and what it's not, right? That we don't have to be in a place where we know exactly what it is.
I completely agree, and I think we also have very similar problems with informed consent to do with things like medications that we're taking or psychological studies that we're taking part in. I mean, all kinds of things where it's difficult to define what exactly you're consenting to and what that consent means.
Well, right, because if you're not a doctor and you're consenting to medical treatment, there's really no way that informed consent is not really a thing that can exist in that situation because you don't have a medical degree.
Yeah, I find that extremely difficult working in a health-related field. So, yeah, I'm totally with you. But I have to mention that a friend of mine is the director of health and advocacy at kink.com, and I'm hoping that I can have him on the podcast at some point in the future because I'd really like to know about how they deal with those sorts of consent-related questions.
All I know is I bought my anal beads at Target.
How? They don't even have them.
You just have to worry about the tensile strength of the necklaces that you buy.
The Brainstorm Podcast presents The Shift to Reason, Saskatchewan's first secular conference. It's happening on April 30th, 2016, and features some great speakers that include Seth Andrews, Nate Phelps, and Laveda Leaning, along with others. This one-day event in Regina includes lunch and a VIP afterparty with the speakers. Tickets are available at shifttoreason.eventbrite.ca and start at $95 for early bird tickets, with student pricing and limited VIP tickets. Keep up to date with the conference on our Facebook page, facebook.com/shifttoreason.
I'm Dustin.
And I'm Wesley.
We host the Atheist Nomads podcast.
We're godless geeks who take a skeptical look at
politics, religion, science, technology, and history.
We also interview leaders in the atheist, skeptic, and humanist community.
Check us out at atheistnomads.com.
That's atheistnomads.com.
So let's shift gears here for a second and talk about relationships. So
Please, let's do.
there is a obviously there's the feminist stereotype about man hating or whatever, but there's also the stereotype of the feminist male ally as this like downtrodden, weak, like emasculated kind of person. So like just talk about that for a second and kind of why it's bullshit.
Well, for one thing, we're both married to men. So
Traitor.
Oh, no. Like in the podcast now.
In the penis gallery, no less.
What?
I mean, geez. That's like the most anti that stereotype ever.
And I drink a lot.
I had no idea.
I had totally hadn't gotten that
DeManda.
impression.
We're a drinking podcast.
So, if it's okay, if I can ask the penis gallery to comment on that would be an interesting thing for me to hear, I think.
Penis gallery.
Can you ask the question again?
Yeah,
Look, they're a little slow.
That's okay.
This is true. I'm not going to argue that.
There's the stereotype surrounding feminism and specifically feminist male allies or people who are partners with people who are strong feminists about being this like emasculated, downtrodden, like, God, I think I'm a terrible person because I'm a man kind of stuff. And like, can you talk about that and kind of why that's wrong and why that doesn't make sense?
Yeah, can you talk about why we don't like to do the dishes?
Nobody likes doing dishes. I mean, that's not is that a male or female thing?
I will point out that I am the better sandwich maker in our houseld.
This is true. I'm not going to argue that either.
See, it's been established.
Pesto. The secret is pesto.
I think it goes back to the topic that you were discussing earlier about how misogyny also affects men. And I can only speak to my personal experience. I won't speak about Mr. Wright's, but
you both have really nice shoes.
that's true. But when I was growing up, not at all now, but when I was growing up, I was bullied a lot.
And a member of the Pentecostal church.
That's true. Picked on a lot because I was not actively participating in misogyny, in that I wasn't, in junior high, talking about what kind of girls that I wanted to do and how I wanted to do them at that time. I was sort of quiet, introspective. I was never a small child, but I was always quiet and his easy target because of that. Now, as I became an adult, I can choose who I am going to be around, who I choose to share my company with. But I'm also, like 6'2" and, 280 pounds and
a bass baritone.
And physically to some individuals, intimidating. I own dictionaries, and so I have to some people once again an intimidating vocabulary, and so I don't get the same sort of pushback that I used to get when I was younger, but I am aware that it's there, but I immediately, unlike when I was younger, I immediately can, for lack of a better term, counterattack those sorts of accusations of the equalization of anything that is perceived to be a feminist quality as being, somehow making me less of a person just because, I like French romantic films, by, some choice directors like the film Amélie, which I highly recommend, that sort of thing. Or, sitting around just talking about feelings or literature.
Listening to Tori Amos.
That's exactly right. I have what I have been told by a lesbian couple to be a lesbian's taste, or having a lesbian's taste in music, which I don't know what that means.
Nice.
But that sort of thing. And those things are as being perceived as less. Well, it doesn't really affect me because I am privileged of being an American white male in the perfect range. So it doesn't hurt me as much as it would, somebody else, and it doesn't touch me so much. So I don't know if I can really say anything else except for it's complete bullshit. What do you think, Mr. Wright?
Honey, am I allowed to answer the question?
Yeah.
I've already taken up way too much.
Oh, that
Did you
was
do the
perfect.
dishes?
No,
Is the tensile strength of your anal beads of sufficient quality?
Depends on where he got them from.
Frequently. Are they from Target?
Are they from Target?
like like Mr.
His
Hayes.
manifesto is
Yes,
not
I can't
sponsored by
answer.
Target.
Yes, like Mr.
You
Haven.
can
I
get
can tell.
a frozen. Wait a minute. Are you trying to talk? I'm going to talk right over you.
I noticed.
I've had 3 glasses of whiskey.
Turn her off, God. God just turned her off. The power of God. Thank you.
Benefits of God being a male.
Thank
The
you.
power of the penis compels you. Which is a reference to another comedy sketch we've done.
Like Mr. Haven, I also grew up being picked on. I was always real small and everything, and so I took on the role of actually.
And so I totally disrupt everything that you say and don't allow you to speak. And I'm shutting up now. No, not.
No, he's always like for the penis gallery. But being small and everything, I've always gotten picked on until I was about 12. I started taking karate, and so that was like the man's sport at that time in 1984, and we all know Karate Kid was coming out.
We watched that last night.
Yes, we did. And so 32 years later, I'm still in it, teaching it, and so I work in a
You're
garage.
not supposed to tell how old I am.
Yes, you're really old.
And you see, that's another thing is that
He didn't say anything about
is-
how old you are.
That's true.
That's true.
But martial arts was regarded as a
manly sport.
a masculine.
Yes.
No.
activity.
It's geeky machismo.
Geeky machismo.
Yes.
Well, machismo is that's from the same root, isn't it, as masculine? Machismo.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me about
He's
etymology
got a
when I've
dictionary.
had 2 glasses of whiskey. Wait, what were you saying, Mr. Wright? We're totally listening
First
to you
of all,
and supporting your
I
voice.
apologize to the Gaytheist Manifesto for my wife.
Okay, well, you guys talk about DeManda while I go on a beer run. Bye.
She has a small bladder.
No,
I'm
I
getting more beer.
pretty much learned just by being myself, knowing that what's going on in our world is just not right. I have never been religious, so it never affected me. And I always, my mom was always like the boss of our house. It pretty
Which
much.
I'm still dealing with. She lives next door to us.
Yes, but yeah, I kind
had
of I grew
wars.
up with a strong woman around the house, and I've always gotten used to it. And I've actually, I always wondered why there was not.
He likes me to whip him.
Yeah,
That's something that I experienced too. And I wonder if that has something to do with it, because my mother was certainly a strong figure in my household, which did not diminish my father's role in it.
Oh, no.
Why
Yeah,
are they
you're
talking about their mommies? Let's
But,
have the next question. What's the next question?
Probably nothing to do with
Sorry?
us.
I think this is a great discussion.
She said get back to her couch.
but as you can tell, being with DeManda has taught me quite a bit.
Right, about patience and yeah.
Yes,
I told her to shut the front door.
yes, she does. So it has taught me a lot.
Are you still talking?
Yes.
Callie, help us out here.
So, well, the next question I was gonna ask is about intersectionality. So, obviously we both, both of our shows are about, the intersection of 2 different issues, and obviously, I mean, we talk a lot about feminism on the show, anyways, and I know you guys talk a lot about LGBT stuff. So, like, let's just kind of talk about intersectionality for a second. What exactly does intersectionality mean to you, and how do you apply it, in everyday life?
Yes.
Oh, I took the wrong turn. No, I didn't.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
Okay, no, I know exactly what intersectionality.
Oh, my goodness, DeManda. You've done an entire Feminism 101 segment about intersectionality and why it's
did that.
important.
What did you learn?
I learned that it's important to be more inclusive than exclusive, because not only does it help the movement, but it helps us in our legitimacy, but also in political, socio-political goals. and that we should include pretty much anybody who identifies as a woman as
Look, this
part of
is why the
feminism.
X chromosome is looked down upon.
What? Because I can't explain intersectionality very well after 2 beers and a whiskey.
Because we drink a lot. That's why.
Oh, well, we are fun, though.
We are.
That's
we
true.
laugh a lot.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. So,
And occasionally we'll wash the dishes and we make a sandwich.
story time. I helped create the Gay Straight Alliance in my high school, and
Yay!
It-
Where's the applause, God?
it almost got some kids transferred from our school because parents were really upset about it. And I felt that it was important to be inclusive of, not only people who were homosexual or bisexual, but also heterosexual allies who wanted to be supportive of those of us who identified otherwise. Intersectionality is important, but I think it's also essential to feminism as a movement and as a political body. In order to get enough support that we can actually make legislative changes in this country, we need to include everyone who identifies as a woman as part of the feminist movement, and everyone who identifies as a feminist ally who is actively, participating and advocating for the feminist movement.
I advocate.
Good job.
Good contribution.
Yay. High five.
I drink and I advocate.
I drink, therefore I contribute.
Yeah, so I do a lot. The reason I ask is I do a lot of thinking about the ways that different things interact with one another to kind of bolster these systems of oppression around race and gender and sexuality and that kind of thing. And I saw a really interesting infographic that was talking about intersectionality, and it basically showed the pay gap, right, between men and women. And then it was like, yeah, so check out the pay gap between men and black women and men and Hispanic women. And how those disparities are even larger there. And then, different things like the fact that almost every trans person who is murdered is a woman of color. And I mean, I think in the United States, literally all but one trans woman who was murdered in the United States last year was either black or Latina. So it's, to me, it's almost like it's not even worth doing if intersectionality isn't something that's on your mind. Like, you can't just be for one kind. I mean, speaking generally in the world, I mean, you can't just be for one kind of person, and even more specifically about feminism, you can't be just about one kind of woman, or even just women in general, because non-binary people benefit from feminist activism as well, because it's all about breaking down gender stereotypes. Ari, can you want to comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because non-binary people are definitely affected by misogyny. Maybe not as well. I guess it would kind of depend. Maybe not as severely as trans women, because I think especially with trans women there is a huge societal pressure to pass as cisgender and to be seen as appropriately feminine. And it's the same thing with non-binary people. For example, if they are assigned male at birth, but they are have a little bit more of a feminine gender identity, but they're not a binary trans woman, they're just like a non-binary person. There is still that same sort of pressure on them. No matter how they see themselves, the world still might see them as a feminine person, and might still have all these, these negative consequences of that because of the misogyny that is present in our society.
But that also brings into light how little non-binary or genderqueer people are brought into the limelight. How they are excluded from the conversation so many times that if it were more quote unquote normalized to be non-binary or genderqueer, then being transgender and having to identify as one gender or the other would not be nearly as much of a thing. You wouldn't have that pressure to be more female or more male. You would just be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it comes down to gender essentialism, which is the bane of the non-binary person's existence.
Woot.
Explain gender essentialism real quick, just to make sure that people understand what you mean by that.
It's just basically the idea that there are certain ways that women are and certain ways that men are. Usually biologically is the kind of way that people go at it. Like, because women have this certain hormones and certain body parts, then they are like this. And because men have these certain things, then they are like this. When, of course, people are much more diverse than that.
Absolutely.
So let's kind of wrap things up here. So at the end of the interview on our show, you asked us what we hope the future is for for the LGBT community and trans people specifically. So I'm going to turn that around on you. And what do you think the future looks like for feminism?
Of you.
What do you? Yeah. So what do you see as the future? What do you hope to see? What are you seeing as far as progress and all that goes?
Yeah, I just hope that it's a matter of being brightly skeptical. I think we had this conversation before on our podcast, that it's a matter of being skeptical with compassion, right? Mm-hmm. That it's a matter of being, we need to question, we need to be skeptical, we need to question all power structures, but we also need to have an element of compassion tied within that.
Absolutely. Feminism with a hug.
Oh my God, I love that.
I will gladly be the one who stands out front and goes, "You want a hug?" I know you do.
Has a t-shirt.
I had a t-shirt that said "Hug a Humanist," and I would stand out with my arms outstretched, waiting for a hug, and it didn't really work. Well, I got a couple of hugs that one year, but the homemade shirt makes it look a little more creepy.
Maybe it was the font they used. Was it Helvetica?
No, Helvetica would have been probably more soothing.
Oh,
come here and hug me, guys. It's totally legit, I promise.
You should watch that documentary about
Was it
Helvetica.
Times New Roman?
No, I think it was like some retro font. That was probably my problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like some kind of bookkeeper font.
What I would like to see...
It was the font. The font is the problem.
For the future of feminism is the disappearance of the word feminism. I would like to see...
put us all out of work.
I would like to see a lack of need for the word feminism because it's assumed.
Right.
Being a decent human being to another decent human being is assumed. We all do it. So let's all just be nice to each other until we have reason not to be. And even then, maybe we ought to just continue being nice until it, costs us bodily harm. Until then, be fucking nice.
Wait,
Sorry. No, that's okay.
I had an image of handcuffs and arresting. And my heart started palpitating.
That's later.
For the future of feminism, that's what brings that. Oh boy.
We're not allowed to represent feminism.
We're mixing up our timelines here.
Yeah.
I think they forgot what show they were on.
Right. That's fair. So before we go, tell us where online we can find you and where online we can find the show.
PromotingSecularFeminism.com, at Secular Feminism on Twitter, and
PromotingSecularFeminism at gmail.com is how you can contact us, and you can find episodes on iTunes, Spreaker, and Stitcher. And feel free to rate and review on iTunes.
And she probably has a lot to say, but she drinks a lot of whiskey, and that could be a problem.
Hey, we both do. And everybody does sometimes.
And sometimes there's fruit, like bananas.
Yeah, I'm not whiskey so much. It's more alcoholic root beer for me. That's the dangerous thing.
Hey,
I'm trying very hard not to judge you through my liberalism.
You do you, Callie, and we'll drink our whiskey.
Awesome.
I think I finally reached the limits of my liberalism.
Well, thank you guys so much for being on the show.
It was root beer whiskey.
I knew this was going to be a fun interview, and it certainly was. So thank you.
Thanks
you
for
both.
having us.
And that, my friends, is going to do it for this episode of the Gaytheist Manifesto on Secular Media Network. Again, I want to thank my co-host, Ari.
Thank you very much.
And I want to thank our guests from Promoting Secular Feminism for their time and for telling us what they're all about. You can find our show online at facebook.com/The Gaytheist Manifesto. You can email us at thegaytheistmanifesto@gmail.com. I'm on Twitter at Gaytheist Callie. And Ari?
I'm on Facebook at Ari Coleman.
And you can find the show on Twitter at The Gaytheists. If you want to support the work we do, you can head to patreon.com/The Gaytheist Manifesto and make a per-episode donation to support the production of the show and the activism we do. If that's not doable, you can go to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review to help us get heard by more people. Before we go, I want you to know that if you're lost, you're hurting, you're scared, if you feel like no one cares and no one understands, you need to know there's a community out here that loves you, cares for you, knows that you're capable of amazing things and that you are worthy of love. If you're struggling, please don't be afraid to reach out. Until next time, friends, this is the Gaytheist Manifesto.